Welcome to the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur. My name is Rita Perez. Hello. I've been a travel advisor for over 10 years and am navigating this winding road of entrepreneurship with you. I created this podcast because I wanted to share all the things I've learned from leaders both in and out of our industry that I really wish I would have known way back then. But alas, the important thing is I'm aware of them now, and I want you to be too. Ready for this week's show? Let's jump in. Hey, travel entrepreneurs. I just had to come on today because I had to share something pretty big, pretty significant that happened to me that I hope can give you hope for your own businesses. I mean, I don't have to tell anybody that these past 2 years have really been sucky. There have been some really great parts, but for my travel business, it has not been great. And so just kind of a little background if you didn't know and if I haven't shared this before. So I started Rita Ventures, my travel business, in October of 2010. I started under the premise of planning girlfriend getaways, and it wasn't until I want to say I really focused on retreat planning and cruise retreats as my niche. I want to say really possibly end of 2019. Is when I really I decided that was going to be my focus. And so at the end of 2019, I had made the plan and decision that I needed to start doing things differently, and I really needed to get out in my community and really talk about the benefits of hosting retreats on cruise ships and meeting both team leaders and leaders of different tech companies, because I know that they are more people first oriented who want to be hosting team building retreats, so that I could get the word out there and really be in front of my ideal audience, be in front of my ideal client. And we all know what happens in 2020. So I obviously had to revert not what my messaging was going to be, but how I was going to put it out there, because I could no longer go to in-person events because that was no longer happening. And so we all know everything kind of started getting shut down. Actually, the last retreat that I went on with a client was January of 2020. And I remember checking in, and the cruise line had asked the COVID-19 questions. And I just chuckled because I'm why, this isn't even a thing. Why are you guys so scared? And the joke was on me clearly a couple months later. So June 2020, I decided to start my podcast, the Cruise Retreat Podcast, so, obviously separate from the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur, to help promote my travel business. And I had, really focused on YouTube in the beginning, but YouTube wasn't giving me any traction. And I had really been consistent with YouTube for at least 6 months before making that decision to kind of pivot away from YouTube and try out podcasting. Podcasting really wasn't getting me any clout either until actually this year, 2022. And I would say really, it's been the past 3-ish months that I've heard people saying oh yeah, I listened to your podcast. And funny enough, my podcast has been on a hiatus since May of 2022 because I was feeling a little bit burnt out, and I really wasn't sure what to talk about on the Cruise Retreat podcast. So I took a break from that. But people have been listening to it, and I just checked my stats on the podcast, and my stats are good. People are listening to it on a weekly basis, even though the content hasn't been updated. The side note on that is that I will be having new episodes coming out soon on that podcast, but I mentioned that because this most recent interaction has something to do with my podcast. It also has, so I have never met in person the two people. So, and I will try not to use their names to kind of like protect them and like not openly put too much information out there. So I'll just use like their first initial, H and C. So H, I had kind of seen doing some partnerships in like the podcasting world with some of the podcasting people that I know and some of the podcasting people that have been on the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur podcast. Adam Shively, Chris McPeak, Ina Coveney. And so they had been in my radar, but I hadn't like really thought too much of it. And it wasn't until they were more in those people radars that she decided to seek me out and actually invited me on her podcast to talk about retreats on cruise ships, which I did earlier this summer. So, and we have kept in connection. She is actually on the West Coast. We have kept in connection through Instagram, a little bit on LinkedIn, but really more on Instagram, where I'll comment on her stuff, she'll comment on my stuff, and this is the beauty of where I'm saying, I know the old school type stuff was all about telling you to post, and while posts have kind of like both helped us curate this relationship, it really was more that we took action in a sense and cultivated the relationship with each other and keeping up with each other and learning more about each other through seeing each other's content. So one of the things that I like to talk all about is getting on other people's audiences is what both elevated us to each other's world, and utilizing social media, we kept in touch and kept that relationship going. So while the content, yes, was very helpful in keeping that connection going, what I always say too is that it's just more than the content. The content really is just a vehicle and a tool. And so I have been talking about retreats on cruise ships for about 2 years, and I'm finally gaining traction because H wants to plan her first ever business retreat with another business coach that she knows. She most recently introduced me to another business coach, and we got on a connection call. And again, while things have not been solidified, that potential relationship with C can open so many doors for my travel business. And I am just so excited, and I wanted to share this with you for a couple of different reasons, is to kind of like show you how I utilize social media to stay in touch and stay connected and build those relationships with other people. But it really is like, it happened in the new traditional way of how we should be utilizing social media and not. And I just wanted to give that success story, or success-ish kind of story, that if you have been feeling lost and like your efforts are not going anywhere, because I have been there, I am in there. And it's not until all these things started happening that I'm like, oh my gosh, it's working. And I feel it's like the culmination of, you know, and I kind of feel very weird about the term hard work, but it's the culmination of hard work and consistency and speaking my voice and utilizing my voice how I best could. And do enough people know that your business even exists? If you're not meeting your yearly income goals, then probably not. You need more clients, which means you need more prospects, and you can't get those unless you're meeting them where they are. If you're doing things like sending weekly emails and posting to social media, you have put the horse ahead of the cart. So let's put the horse back where it belongs and find opportunities to increase the number of eyeballs on your business by joining the Visibility Collaborative. Search for visibility opportunities, track your efforts, and troubleshoot in community. Head on over to the show notes to learn more and get ready to turn your new prospects into profits. Like niching down, and I think that's part of what I mean when I say like utilizing my voice, niching down, because I had a consistent message to keep talking about. I have paired myself as the individual. If you want to plan a retreat on a cruise ship, I am your person, because I'm always talking about it and always trying at least to provide value to the people that come to me, that I am the one they want to work with. But I think it's also very important to note the whole personality. When I'm talking about there's probably 10 other people, there's at least, not probably, there probably definitely is. There's other people that can do the same thing that I do. But when I got on this call, she told me that she was looking for a travel partner, and she told me that she had talked to another travel partner and it just didn't vibe, so she didn't want to work with that person. And that's where I want to put it out to you, is that there's so many of us doing so many different things, and that's a good thing because it elevates the industry. And that's also what the good thing is of being able to show our personalities and whatever content it is, like going lives, having podcasts, just writing in general, and then being able to connect on a connection call one-on-one. When I say know, like, trust factor, that is part of the know, like, trust. It just reminds me of like the dating, like either you want to work with that person or you don't want to work with that person, and either way is okay. And it could have been that she didn't want to work with me because we didn't vibe well. But I think that's when, if you're getting discouraged because you know somebody else in your area that specializes in destination weddings and you could never break out into destination weddings, and because everybody goes to that person, do not sell yourself short, because not everybody is going to like that person and how they interact and what their values are. And I think for me, this has just been a validation of so many things, that I can be authentic and incredibly professional and know my stuff and know I am the right person to be working with. But I know that I'm not the only one, and I'm confident in that because I know I'm not going to be for anyone. And I think that confidence exudes. So when she starts mentioning certain things and I think, okay, we're going to have to like negotiate how we're going to work with each other, I didn't close the door. I embraced it because I know the work that she's doing is so incredible for her clients. And I want to be around that. Those are the types of people that I want to be around. And if I didn't feel that way, I wouldn't feel this excited. I wouldn't have come to you and mentioned any of this if that didn't like bring me true joy of possibility. And like I mentioned, like this is not a done deal or anything. It's just going like in a really great direction. And I just kind of wanted to openly word vomit here with you that this was 2 years in the making. Please do not give up. And this is also the importance of why loving travel is not enough in your travel business. Because there have been very recent times where I myself have been thinking, you know what, I think I'm going to start focusing a lot more on my marketing business than I am in my travel business. And it is not the love of travel that I stay in this. It is the love and the desire of being able to transform lives through what I do. something as many people might find as trivial as retreat planning is where an attendee can feel included in a community that embraces them and all of their quirks, and not only embraces them, but they're able to connect with through world travel on a cruise ship. That is what fuels me and keeps me going in this travel business. Because travel can change lives for the better. It can heal. It can make you feel like the place where you belong. And that is just what is really coming to the forefront of me now. And that's really why I do what I do. And that's when I say, like, that is a feeling. Like, I know I'm driving with the right person because I can feel it in my chest. I can feel it in my heart, as hippy-dippy as that may sound. When you are really jiving and vibing with whoever it is, your ideal client, where do you feel that excitement? Because it's not just like, oh, yay, I'm going to get a nice commission check. Like, I don't even care. I do care about the commission check. But that is not at the forefront, even though money is what can supply a lot of options to me. I know that I'm here for a bigger purpose and bigger existence than that. And all these different things have brought it together. And it's not just fate. And it's not just that I manifested it. Even though technically, in a way, I did manifest this. But it's not that I said, I'm going to be the leader in the cruise retreat space. It's that I actually did stuff with that. I kept talking about it. I am still talking about it. I am still being a guest on podcasts. There's 2 podcast episodes that have yet to come out of me talking about the different ways that cruise retreats can transform businesses and companies and people's lives. And so, 1, I am not done. 2, I hope that this has, at the very least, given you some motivation or empowerment to keep going. But you have to keep going, not because you love travel. There is something else that is keeping you here and in this business and motivating you. And I hope that you really find that, like I have been really reconnecting with in the past couple of weeks. And that you let that fuel yourself to really be meeting people, whether it is online, whether it is in person, so that you can utilize your voice. You can utilize your message and what you do and feel empowered and feel confident that the more that you do so, the closer you are to really achieving your travel business goals and dreams. All right, that is it for me. I hope this has been useful, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks for joining me on The Strategic Travel Entrepreneur. Please subscribe and leave a show a rating on your favorite podcast platform. Oh, and don't forget to take a look at the show notes for important information and links. See you next week.